Thank you very much. So Kris, the first question that I have for you is from Naomi. She wants to know, what is the process from having an idea for a game to making it into a full-fledged product?
Okay, so the process for me was obviously it would begin with an idea, the kind of concept that you come up with. From that point, the first thing to do is to prototype that idea. So you go ahead and create the components that you need to sort of bring your game to life, as it were. You don't have to worry about how anything looks at that stage. It's just really, if there are cards, getting some blank cards from a shop and writing the rules on the back of them. Essentially just a way of playing the game as quickly and as cheaply as you possibly can. Once you've got that set up, the next stage is to actually test that out with other people who are going to play the game with you. And from that experience, there's going to be things that work, things that don't work. And you take that information and you refine your game. And it's basically the biggest part of the process is going through that iterative sort of design whereby you're continually making refinements again and again and again. And you repeat that until you're happy with it. The next stage from there would be to have the game blind play tested. So essentially you would send a version of the game to some people who've never played it before, who don't want to be especially nice to you because they're your friends, and you're going to get some very honest feedback from those people. And again, you would then take that and go back to that kind of test and make changes and refine until you're really happy with it. So once you feel like your prototype is there, the next stage then would be to commission some artwork to kind of make your game look and feel like it's of a good quality. Once you've commissioned your artwork, the next logical step is to market the game. But I just want to say, I mean, if you're smart about it, my advice would be to actually start the marketing process right at the beginning. So even though most of these steps are linear, you can actually start the marketing alongside the very first step, and you can chart your progress through the game. And there's an audience out there for that sort of content. So the marketing is a really good thing. And by doing it that way, you can build an audience as well who feel like they've had a say and kind of followed your story. It's something I wish I'd done a little bit more of myself, to be honest with you. But it's, the marketing is crucial. Once you've got your product, people know about it, it's playing great, it's looking great. The next stage then is to obviously raise the money to have the game manufactured. Depending on how you want to do that, you might do it through a crowdfunding website, you might do it through a deal with a manufacturer or a publisher, you might do it with self-backing, self-funding. However you do it, you then give that money to a manufacturer, excuse me, who will come to you with a price. You obviously want to source the best possible price that you can, and you tell them how many copies of the game that you want to have manufactured. Once that's done, you would work with a fulfillment company to arrange and facilitate, the shipping and delivery of the game either to people's hands or to stores, or however you're choosing to do it. But that is it in a nutshell. But obviously, you could talk for hours on each one of those stages.
I think for me, from the projects that I've worked on, the key thing that you mentioned, Kris, is like the idea that it's all about loops that get smaller and smaller. You want to start with something that's you have this huge idea, and then you just keep refining it until it gets smaller and smaller as a loop, and your refines get smaller. You play test, and it starts needing so much work until you play test loop gets smaller and smaller, and then that basically happens throughout every stage of the process of design, right the way through to having a finished product.
It's really interesting. Something that I also teach is systems engineering, and it's amazing how well that aligns to this and this idea of this iterative design. But what I also really enjoyed was that you said about the marketing and doing that from the start. So knowing that I could start the marketing when this is what my prototype looks like is really a good point to make, actually, that kind of being able to generate a little bit of interest at that stage is a really positive thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's so much about trying to really get as much feedback as you can throughout. Talking about playtesting and prototyping, like actually bringing an audience on board early is a really good way to not just test out your mechanics, but also test out the look of your game, because that also has to be designed.